Hello, I'm Jashikins, and welcome to another episode of Jash Reads. Tonight, we will be continuing to read Animorphs number 10, The Android by K.A. Applegate. And as always, this video is not intended for kids. Instead, it's intended for adults who are discovering or rediscovering the joy that is Animorphs. And if you might notice, this is behind me today because we got a new cabinet, and this is the little resting place this box will be in until, yeah, the cabinet's all set up, but we just have to get rid of this box. So, yay! And I would have actually got this video out a little sooner, but I've been feeling sick all day, and I ended up taking a nap. And I'm one of those people that does not take naps a lot. So when I take a nap, it's usually because my body's finally at the breaking point going, no, Jash, no, get your ass back. You need to rest. I need to rest. I need to heal. Okay, I guess that little story cost me a viewer for right now. So let's get started so I don't, drive away my one other viewer. Okay. Happy thoughts, happy thoughts. There were probably 200 people around the lake below us. Boys, girls, older people. Some were swimming, some were water skiing, some were grilling burgers and hot dogs over charcoal fires. A lot were just milling around and talking and laughing. You'd swear it was some kind of big community picnic. From the air, they all looked so normal. And probably most of the people below us were normal. But a lot of them were controllers. And one of them was Eric, who was certainly not normal. We stayed well back from the lakeshore and dropped down into the trees. We came to rest on the ground, inside a cluster of tall bushes. My osprey vision and osprey hearing had revealed no one within 100 yards. But I was tingling with nervousness, just the same. Shall we demorph? Asked. Not yet. Tobias said he would swing back over once we were on the ground. So we waited there, looking a bit weird. Two birds of prey just hanging out inside a bunch of bushes at the edge of the forest. I could hear the whine of power boats out on the water, and closer, little snatches of human laughter. Okay, guys, Tobias's thought-speak voice suddenly spoke in my head. Looks clear to me. You've got a guy and a girl maybe 100 yards off. But I think they're making out, so they should be busy for a while. I quickly began to demorph. One of the limitations on morphing is that you can't just morph straight from one form to another. You always have to return to your own body in between. In Axe's case, this meant returning to his Andalite form. That had to make him nervous. There were dozens of controllers just a few hundred feet away. Yerks might overlook one kid sneaking around. They wouldn't overlook an Andalite. Are you ready to morph again? Axe asked me once we were back in our normal bodies. I'll never be ready to morph a spider, I said. My teeth were chattering, and it wasn't cold. I have to morph, Axe said. I can't stay here in Andalite form. Yeah, I know. Okay, I'm going to do this, but I'm going to keep my eyes closed. I focused my mind on the spider, but I lost concentration. Mostly because even the image of that wolf spider grossed me out. Then act started to change. I knew I couldn't just stand there and watch. I knew I had to morph. It can't be any worse than morphing a fly, right? Or an ant? I asked no one. Not that I wanted to think about the ant morph. We'd had a very, very bad time in ant morph. I closed my eyes and focused again. This time I kept my concentration. I felt myself starting to shrink. Shrinking is always a little weird. But now I was also thinking about some big, disgusting balloon of Marco mass suddenly bulging out into zero space. Whatever zero space was. I could feel myself getting smaller. I could feel very strange things happening inside me. Sudden feelings of emptiness where organs were simply disappearing. And there was a distracting, squishy sound that came up my spine and through my skull. The sound of bones turning to marrow and of marrow sort of oozing away. I wouldn't be needing any bones, I guess. I kept my eyes tightly shut, not wanting to see what was happening, and I held on to my fears with a death grip of determination. I mean, if there's anything worse than being a spider, it's being some disgusting mix of half human, half spider. But then, pop, 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 I could see. I tried to close my eyes, but no, I didn't have eyelids. It's very hard to close your eyes when you don't have eyelids. Eyes were popping open in my forehead. Eyes were erupting out my head like zits. I, I almost lost it right then. I would have screamed if I'd had a voice any longer. But I was already half spider. And I was staring at Axe as he underwent a change very similar to my own. I was watching him with vision that was half human and half the shattered, broken mirror vision of the spider's compound eyes. Something horrifying was growing from the place on Axe's face where a mouth should have been. Something huge and bulging and foul. Two monstrous, swollen things like nothing I'd ever seen before. They were jaws, but huge and outsized. From the end of each one, a wicked, curved fang grew. Sometimes you really, really need eyelids. There are definitely some things you don't want to have to see. I knew the same thing was happening to me. My bulging jaw parts grew till they entered my own distorted field of vision. Fortunately, I didn't have to worry too long about the jaws. See, I became distracted when legs suddenly exploded from my chest. Sprout! 4 new legs, 2 on each side, just shot out of me like I was a tube of toothpaste someone had stomped. They sprouted all gumby and formed, then began to form joints. Way too many joints. My human legs and arms were changing to match these fur spider legs. I fell forward, no longer able to stand erect. It wasn't much of a fall. I was already pretty small. The pine needles beneath me already seemed to be as big around as a human finger. Not that I had any fingers left to compare with. All the while, new eyes kept opening suddenly where eyes absolutely did not belong. Some were compound eyes, some weren't. Then, as if the extra legs and the mix and match eyes and the huge jaw and fang combo weren't enough, some new leg-like thing came sprouting out my, well, out of where my neck used to be. They were like extra legs, only they weren't. I had no idea what they were, but they moved. Much later, I found out they're called pedipalps, a sort of cross between a mouth part and a leg. My head was swelling compared to the rest of my body. It was gigantic in a small way. My entire body was now divided into two big chunks, a sort of bulging head and an even bulgier body. I was almost entirely a spider now. The pine needles that had seemed as big as fingers were now as big as 2x4s. As the last touch, strangely soft hairs began to grow from everywhere on my body. It was the hair that seemed to trigger the awakening of the spider brain. The wolf spider has good eyes for a spider, but it's all the thousands of tiny hairs that really get the spider brain's attention. They sense every subtle clue in the wind, every minor movement in every direction. And all of a sudden, it felt like the whole world was moving. Leaves, pine needles, the dirt beneath my claw tipped 8 legs, bugs in the dirt, moles under the ground, birds in the air. All of it seemed to be hardwired into the hairs that covered my spider body. With all that sensory overload, the spider brain woke up. I had been afraid it would be like the brain of an ant, a mindless machine, or that would be the terrified, fearful, panic-stricken mind of a prey animal. But oh, no, definitely no. They didn't call it a wolf spider for nothing. This guy was tiny, no more than 2 inches from the end of one outstretched leg to the end of the farthest back leg. A toddler could easily crush him underfoot. But I guess it isn't size alone that makes a predator. Because as soon as I felt the edge of that spider brain, I knew this boy was trouble. The wolf spider was a killer. And that's the end of that lovely chapter. And as someone who's arachnophobic, that was a very pleasant chapter of things I'm glad will never ever happen to me. I'm never going to have to be told, hey, Jash, to save the world, you just have to turn into this creature you're terrified. At which point you'll be like, nope, fuck the world, I'm not doing this shit. So, okay, I think there was something in the chapter I actually did want to talk about okay. Okay, now I remembered. I just had to turn it on and my brain started to work for like half a second. So there's a short story called I Have No Mouth and I Must Scream. I haven't read the short story. I've heard detailed summary of it, but I have seen a let's play of the game that's a very faithful reconstruction of the short story, and even has the original writer voicing the antagonist. But anyways, so it's called I Have No Mouth and I Must Scream, and really long short story short, the narrator has it so he can't speak. Hence, I have no mouth and I must scream. And so when Mark was like, yeah, I have no voice now and I wanted to scream, I'm like, that's probably not a reference. I mean, these books were basically chugged out once a month. So I don't know if... Now, I know that the writer Kay Applegate is a Star Trek fan. I don't know if she's a fan of that short story. I think it might just be total coincidence because, whenever you're morphing, there comes to be a point where you can't really use your vocal cords like normal. So that's probably a reference there that isn't actually there and just something my very nerdy brain picked up. I think there was something else I wanted to talk about, but I can't remember. I remember reading over and over again and like, okay, I want to talk about this, and fortunately, let's see. I don't think there's anything there. Yeah, I think the whole thing I wanted to talk about was, hey, look at that reference that isn't there. Yeah, I think that's where it ended. And my voice seems to want to leave me now. Come on, voice, we only need to make to the end of this video. It won't be that much longer, so let's do this. So the question for this video is, what do you think it would feel like, morphing into spider if you were basically put into a position where you had to morph a spider? Not the acquiring, not the touching part, but when you actually had to morph it, do you see yourself encountering any problems? Like, would you just be too frightened you couldn't finish the morph? Because, morphing takes concentration. Or are you one of those crazy people that likes them spiders? And I'd be like, oh my gosh, this would be the most awesome thing ever. And, also comment below with what you think it would be like. And as always, please comment below with anything you noticed about the chapter. The good, the bad, the ugly. Everything. But no major spoilers. I am hoping against hope that people discover this series through these badly done videos. So no major spoilers. Also, like this video if you too are terrified of spiders. Yeah. Okay, so Mike said, I don't mind spiders, but spiders in UK aren't dangerous. To me, I'm arachnophobic, which means it doesn't matter really if the spiders are actually dangerous or not. It's just that the fact that they look creepy. Yeah. Growing up, the spiders I usually encountered were daddy longlegs, which aren't actually harmful to humans, but they still scare the crap out of me. Although I think, actually, when I was really young, I trapped one spider in a jar, and I would give it food, and one day it escaped. So at one brief few weeks at a time, I didn't mind spiders. But now it's like even tiny spiders are creepy. But I'm glad that you don't have, dangerous spiders in the UK. Just, I know in Australia they're dangerous, and that's one reason I would not ever want to visit that continent, just because of them spiders. And let's see, I did the commenting, the liking. Oh yeah, if you're still watching this, remember to subscribe to this YouTube channel because I will be reading the entire Animorphs series. All 54 books in the main series, all 4 Chronicles, all 4 Megamorphs. So, don't want to miss a thing. And let's see. Stay safe. And if you're in the US like I am, just remember that even though the sort of quarantine has been lifted, that COVID-19 has sadly not just disappeared. So be careful. Make sure you're only going out when you need to, and try to go into places that aren't exactly crowded. Stay safe. I need people to watch my videos. I mean, I care about you deeply. And hope you all have a safe and happy weekend. And until next time, which might be Sunday when I have another The Raven Speaks episode, I'll see you then.